Welcome to Love and Lattes, the podcast designed for women who are ready to stop settling and start living a life full of authentic love, confidence, and real connection. I'm your host, Victoria, the self-love scientist, speaker, and coach, and I'm here to help you reclaim your power, deepen your relationships, and fall unapologetically in love with yourself. So grab your tea, your latte, or your favorite beverage, and let's get started. Have you ever felt like anxiety was calling the shots in your relationships, your work, or even your self-worth? Are you open to the idea that anxiety actually might be trying to tell you something if we truly tune in? Well, babes, I'm so excited about this episode because this might be a first time we're kind of covering anxiety and panic attacks. And I am so excited to have Silvia with me today. Silvia has over 15 years experience in helping people get to the root of their anxiety, not just managing the symptoms. So if you're ready to shift from survival mode to deep emotional freedom, this is the episode for you. So everyone, help me give a lot of love and welcome Silvia to Love and Lattes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Silvia, I kind of want to start off just for listeners and even myself. What is the difference between anxiety and panic attacks?
So they're together because they're in the same umbrella, so to speak. But panic is, let's say, the extreme, the last step of anxiety, when anxiety has gone way too high and it just goes over, like overflowing when you pour water into a glass and it just overflows. That's panic. And all the water that was in there, filling up the glass, that's anxiety. So when you have a lot of anxiety and then all of a sudden just overflows in your life, it can become panic.
That's a really great metaphor. And I feel like when it comes to anxiety, that is the state where you're worried about the future and like the present and then to the future, correct?
You're worried about the future and you're worried in a way that has to do with you not being able to control or cope or this fear of the unknown. So it's not just thinking about the future and being a little worried, because I think we all do that, but it's also when you have parts of you that feel like, oh, not only I'm scared and worried about the future, I also fear and I don't trust myself that I can be able to do or cope or, handle whatever comes in the future.
And what do you think? I'm really thinking, I think that metaphor about the water was it's a great metaphor, honestly. What do you think are some of those things that start to fill our cups? And what is the difference between someone who is in this constant state of overflow versus someone who can manage? Let's say like they pour the glass and they're like, oh, it's almost full. Let me move through versus someone who's like, I don't know how, or, you know, what does that look like? I'll let you take that.
Yeah. We all have glasses, right? We all have our own glass, like you say. And yes, and there's a lot of things in there. I also sometimes use the metaphor of a soup. And so let's picture, while you're cooking, like making a soup. And then you put all these ingredients, right? So there's potatoes and I don't know what else you put. In my country, sometimes they put, corn or carrots and meat, right? And so whether we're thinking about the soup or the glass, um, has to do with the different elements that are on, in there. And I would say the main elements are trauma, especially around childhood. So if you have deep trauma that was never addressed, never healed, that is definitely creating, filling up that cup. And on top of that, you add stress, you add maybe unhealthy lifestyle habits, you add hormonal changes, life changes, you add the regular stress from everyday work. It's like you put all these things in there and it's just filling up, filling up, filling up. in the metaphor of the soup, I say sometimes stress. It's like all these elements are right there, and stress is just the fire from the stove that makes it boil. And then that it's when it becomes, a crisis or anxiety attack or a panic attack.
Okay, you made a really good point too, like in this bowl, that the trauma that is coming from our childhood that can, if it's not regulated or um, you're in that journey of healing, it can evolve to anxiety. Are there any, do we know of any like direct correlations with that in childhood trauma? Is it just like a variety or is it generally specific to something?
I would say, I mean, I don't know for sure that there's something specific. Obviously, sexual trauma, especially in childhood, is very, very, um, we've seen studies saying that that is probably one of the worst traumas. If you want to put it in a scale, because there's also, the conversation that really, you can't really put a number or level into the things that happen to you because for each person, it's their own experience. Um, but I would say for sure something that has to do with abandonment, with sexual trauma, violence, and abuse during childhood, that's probably going to be the biggest, the things that are going to fill that soup the most, for sure. Yeah.
And I can see how those over time, especially like with the exposure, the environments, and how like as you grow and develop and go into adulthood, adding more of those additional like external factors and stresses. And I kind of want to get into triggers as well. But that's how we see the anxiety affecting your self-worth and or especially your relationships.
For sure. It affects every area in your life, your self-esteem, your confidence, the way you relate to other people, the way you relate to yourself, how you present yourself in the world. So that's why it's so damaging. I don't want to say the word damaging, but it is very it goes into the very core of our essence and it hurts us very deeply. So those types of trauma, at least in studies, we've seen the people with the biggest challenges, especially around anxiety and PTSD.
Do you think it's becoming more of a, I feel like just like the topic itself, or even like right now on TikTok, there's like that song. Have you heard the song by Doechii where she's like, somebody's watching me? It's like
Oh
my,
yeah, 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 yeah,
and it's
yeah.
people are trying to make light of that, but it's like the reality behind it is I think it is becoming more of an open conversation. And also it's becoming something that is well shared. Like I feel like it used to be not as prevalent, but now it's just becoming like almost every, if it, you had 10 people in the room, I would say six or even seven out of 10 people have anxiety.
Yes, and it's unfortunate and it's positive at the same time, I have to say, because um, and not that I want people to suffer from anxiety, and it's very sad in a way that we talk about these things, and it is so prevalent, as you say, and at the same time, it's helping more and more people. When I had panic attacks, um, back in like 2008, 2009, at least in my environment, we didn't talk about that a lot. Depression was something that we talked about more. And I was in school, I was studying psychology back then, and I didn't know what was happening to me. So that I think didn't help me in my healing process because I didn't know what it was. So it took me a while to figure it out. Whereas now people have more information. And so right away they can, oh, okay, I think it's anxiety. And there's way more resources online that they can go and look and even free videos and things like that. So in a way, I feel very, yeah, very grateful that all of this is coming out. And at the same time, it's sad to see that it's affecting so many of us.
Yeah, I agree with that. When it comes to, we kind of talked about it before we hit record, but the one thing that's kind of associated with anxiety are triggers. What is a trigger? And can you share some examples of that?
Yeah. The first thing that I want to say is that trigger is something that activates parts of you, in this case, let's say anxiety or panic or fear, and they're very different from person to person. So that's what I want to clarify because what triggers me or activates my system can be very different than what activates or triggers you. So for example, people, and it's not a rule, but I've seen that a lot of people who suffer from anxiety are also very sensitive. We're very sensitive people. So loud noises can trigger my nervous system into go into like alert mode and or emergency mode even. Whereas in the case of my husband, and he has a very different story and very different traumas than mine, he can be hearing the same noise or the same sound. And for him, it was just like, oh, okay. And his system regulates immediately, whereas mine stays alert for a little longer. Um, so whatever it is that activates your system, it can be a conversation, can be sounds, can be certain places. Yeah, just it depends on the person. It also depends on the trauma that you have, that it's going to activate parts of you. In most cases, they're going to activate protectors, parts of you that are coming to make sure that you're okay and that you survive.
That's a really good point. So these protectors, is that very similar to like the fight, flight, freeze, fawn?
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because when you're explaining it, and I do want to kind of circle back to what you said about the difference between you and your partner. But when you're expressing it, it reminds me of whenever I travel, I love going out to the mountains, but I swear every time it's a dirt road going up and I'm in like a 4x4, like the perfect vehicle, but I swear my nervous system like tightens up. I stop breathing. And I think it's because, a few years ago, I got lost and like had no signal. It was like a terrible, like, if this is the end, this is how I go. But it's enough about it now. But back then was not funny. But now
Yeah.
I cannot fully relax until I get to the destination,
Mm.
whether I'm, sitting passenger princess or driving the vehicle. So I think it's very interesting, which now I kind of want to loop into what you said. When your partner is startled by, like, let's say a sound, they have a way of being able to regulate and be like, oh, no worries, moving
Yeah.
on. And then as for you, it's like, I need 15 minutes to
Yeah.
soothe myself. And do you think it's just because we have like different ranges for that? Like just, or maybe it was like something that, it's a different, like almost level of trigger. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it has to do with a lot of things, like I said, and I loved your example because it has to do with a traumatic situation in your case, and the person who is with you or who is with you in the car, they probably experience it very differently. Or, some people in the future that you're going to share some card rides, they don't have that experience at all. So it's very interesting. I've had the same thing, I just have to say. And it wasn't that too long ago. I've had some traumatic experiences with cars, and I'm not gonna go into details because I don't want to scare your audience. But anyway, I was going up like this. It was like rocks basically. It wasn't paved. And yeah, and the car started to like, and I'm like, okay, I'm out. I'm gonna walk. And then he walked all the way up. And my husband was like, okay, right? Again, see the difference between nervous systems. He was fine. He went up, and I walked and I'm like, it's okay. But going back to what you were saying, it has to do, at least in my experience or my observations, it has to do with your nervous system, your window of tolerance in your nervous system. And that window of tolerance has to do with either traumatic situations or the way you were raised or, your environment in general. If you are, for example, already activated, your window of tolerance is going to be smaller for anything really, or anything in general, right? So if I'm already activated, let's say that we had a small scare on the way to this place, right? My nervous system is already alert. It's already more sensitive. And so then this hail comes up and we're like, oh no, right? My reaction to that experience is going to be very different than if I was completely relaxed and we didn't have that scare before and and I'm doing some sort of exercises to help my nervous system, right? So it depends a lot on like where you are in the moment, what has happened to you that day or the minutes before, and also the way you were brought up or the way, or whatever happened in your childhood. I was brought up in a family where we were very aware of like danger. That was like always something. It's like you have to be always thinking about all the bad things that can happen in the world, right? And so my brain, my little girl's brain evolved into, okay, I need to be always aware of danger. Danger can happen anywhere. And that obviously is going to affect my nervous system and make me more sensitive to triggers and activations.
Thank you for sharing that. That was it was
That's a lot.
like it's really good information. Um,
Okay.
so what I kind of want to go from there, just kind of going off, you mentioned earlier, like when you do get to that state and you have these practices or tools, um, what are some of those tools, or what are some ways with anyone who might be listening who has anxiety or is learning, wanting to treat it, or people who know someone like partners, like how can we approach that and create like a space where they can calm the nervous system?
hmm This also varies from person to person, and I want to clarify that before I go into techniques and tips and all of that, because I remember when I was having my own panic attacks, sometimes I could take my phone and start reading something or, going into Instagram or something, and that would help me because it would distract me. And sometimes I couldn't even look at my phone. That would activate me even more. It was like too much stimuli happening. So the best thing is to find the things that work for you. I can share a variety of things that I've tried throughout my life and with my clients. And from there, I would invite the person to try each one and see how that feels. And then go like, oh, this feels good. Oh, no, no, that doesn't feel good. And so trial and error, basically. In my case, I've noticed that tapping or EFT is very good, especially in the moment, because there's techniques for like before, during, and after. And tapping is one that I love for before, during, and after. So it has to do with touching certain parts of your body that are connected to our nervous system and also energetically, and helps us to regulate. And there's a sequence, there's a whole, protocol. But I also find that if you don't know the protocol, you don't remember in the moment because of hello panic. It's okay to do whatever you feel in the moment. If you feel like you want to just do this, then do that, and it's okay. Um, Breathing is very, very useful. Although I've tried to do breathing exercises while I'm in a panic attack, and it's very difficult. Because when you're in panic mode, your brain is basically like, this is an emergency. I have no time to think. This is doing, right? And when you are breathing, you have to sometimes focus and count, and it's not sometimes compatible. So breathing, I would say, do it before. Do it when you're feeling good. Do it on a daily basis, breathing exercises, and that actually helps you for in those moments of panic. Meditation is beautiful, especially to regulate your nervous system. Again, I have never been able to do it successfully during a panic attack, but before, it's very, very good. It strengthens your nervous system, so to speak. Singing, I know it sounds weird, but singing is very, very good, especially during, if you can do that during an anxiety or a panic attack, it's very good because it basically engages your vagus nerve. And then your vagus nerve is going to make you feel good. It's going to make you feel relaxed. It's basically a break from all that chaos. Um, Listening to music can help as well. Again, if that doesn't trigger you even more. Humming helps as well. Massages helps as well. If that's okay, if you can, feel touch in that moment. All of those things basically engage our vagus nerve. We are wired for these things to help us to physical touch or singing or talking or a hug, for example. All those things are going to help our nervous system. So those are my favorites. And then the one that really, really helped me the most is to grab a pillow. I have a blanket here, so it's not a pillow per se, but this can help. And I would pretend that this was my inner child and that she was the one who was scared. And I would grab her like a baby, like I would hold her like a baby like this. And basically, I would just talk to her and like do this. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm right here. You're going to be okay. Now I know this is a little weird to do like on the subway or if you're having a panic attack on the bus or at work, if you grab a pillow and you start talking to it, you might seem a little crazy to other people. But maybe you can go to a bathroom or you can do it in your mind. You can close your eyes or just try and focus and picture a little girl, little boy, a little cat, a little dog that is very, very scared. And then you bring that energy to try and calm it down. And then that is going to just regulate your whole system. It's beautiful. And that is the technique or the thing. I don't want to say call it technique because it's the exercise, whatever you want to call it, that would help me go back to sleep when I had a panic attack at night.
That's amazing. That is such a powerful tool that I would have never had in mind. In the past, I've been trained to do EFT tapping, and that for myself, that was very soothing. But I also find myself to be very like I'm all about physical touch, so I think tapping is very powerful. Um, this has been such an amazing conversation, and before we kind of close everything out, because you've offered such great techniques and insight about what this looks like and how to navigate anxiety, what would be a last, kind of mic drop or even a gold nugget piece of advice for listeners who are trying to navigate anxiety that might be interrupting, like you said, the different parts of their lives, and how can they create more compassion for themselves around that?
I love that you said that at the end because that's exactly what I want to go into. I wish I had known this when I was going through my panic attacks. But it's okay. I guess it's part of the journey. The first thing is that anxiety is not your enemy. It's not going to harm you. It's actually doing the opposite. Anxiety is trying to protect us. And they're in their own way, right? I'm not saying it's the perfect plan. It's a part of you that is trying to help you survive. Um, so when I realized that it wasn't like I needed to get rid of anxiety or cancel anxiety or, fight anxiety, uh, then all that energy of fighting and eliminating and all of that, I could just take that and use it into compassion, as you say. Compassion towards myself, compassion towards that part of me that is just trying to protect me. That part believes that I am in danger and is trying to do everything that it can to help me. So instead of fighting it and trying to get rid of anxiety and it's bad I started to say, thank you. Thank you, anxiety, because I think that you're trying to help me. Might not be the best way, this strategy is not the best one. But I appreciate that you love me so much that you're trying to protect me like so strongly, like so badly. Um, and that changed everything for me. To see fear and anxiety and panic, not from the enemy perspective, but see it as a part of you that is trying to help you, and then you can learn from that, and it actually becomes a way, a path for self-love and to get to know yourself better. That's what happened to me. So ultimately, I learned to love myself from this experience of going through anxiety and panic. So now I'm thankful. I don't feel like that was something to be ashamed of. I don't feel that that is something bad, that it means that I'm flawed or that I'm weak, or all those different things that sometimes we think around mental health, and especially anxiety. It doesn't mean that. It just means that my system loves me very much. And the more love I give to my system, to my parts, the better they're going to feel. And then the more relaxed we're going to be.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. And I'm really glad you said, I love that you said you made the comment that, you gave gratitude to your anxiety because again, it is just it's part of the nervous system. It's your body's way of trying to be like, no, 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 no. Stop you right
Right.
there. And I think, yeah, practicing compassion and understanding and incorporating these tools and even having the conversation with others is a really great start. So thank you, Sylvia. And also for everybody listening, Sylvia is giving us a wonderful gift. I'll let you share a little bit about it and then we'll call it. So please share with us, Sylvia, your gift to our listeners.
I have a 9-minute video where I can demonstrate a little bit of tapping. We talked about EFT tapping. And that's especially for anxiety, although you can use it for anything really. So yeah, that's my gift for your audience for free.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for having this amazing conversation. I do feel like this is a lot of people are going to really enjoy this. I know I have. I'm like, tell me more.
Of course, yeah.
This has been so wonderful, and I truly appreciate you. And thank you for being on the podcast.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.